What's up? Welcome in. It is a Tuesday, the 6th day of January in the year 2026, and we have an NFL playoff field that is full. We've got college football semifinals that are around the corner and literally one of them down the damn street. We've got baseball news. We've got college hoops news. It is a fantastic time to be alive as a sports fan, and I don't even know where to start, but as customary on a Tuesday, Vegas Mack, how the hell are you, buddy?
Man, doing well. Let's start at the very beginning. That's what they say. It's a very good place to start, as I quote from The Sound of Music. That's where we go. So let's start at the top. What do we got? What's our tee off? First hole. Tee it up, Mike. Tee it up.
First hole today, 18 years and a thanks for participating. If you haven't heard it yet, it did come out late, so some of you might have been on the way home from work. Everybody starting to get back into their work routine. John Harbaugh is out in Baltimore after 18 years, a 180 and 113 record, 13 and 11 in the postseason. Obviously, the Super Bowl win in 2012. We don't talk about that one in this house. 8 road playoff wins, the most in NFL history, and per his agent, within 1 hour of this news coming out, there were 7 teams that contacted John Harbaugh's agent. If you're doing the math, there are 7 openings. Obviously, the Ravens are not going to rehire them, which means then for you math wizards out there, there are 6 other openings, but a 7th team made the phone call. And I don't think that's surprising to anybody. Mac, I know you are very familiar with the Ravens-Steelers rivalry, the John Harbaugh-Mike Tomlin rivalry. It looked like if Tyler Loop went straight, Mike Tomlin might be in the same position. He went way the hell to the divine rights, and John Harbaugh's out in Baltimore after almost half of my adult life there.
Yeah, either way, it was going to be hard to understand. I mean, you kind of do. I mean, I'll use the same. I'll use the same argument that I used when we were talking about this with Tomlin. It's like the question is, who are you going to get in there that's better? And I think that's what it comes down to, is who are you going to get in there that's going to be better than Harbaugh? I mean, he was just. When you think of the Ravens, I mean, he's what you think of. So it's going to be very interesting to see the direction that they go. That's a huge shift. I'm not going to say it's because they didn't have a great season. So they're not like a close Super Bowl team, but they're not far away from still being a pretty good or even a Super Bowl contending team, just next year. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see where they go. Like you said, I just kind of found out about it not all that long ago. So I haven't even really given too much thought, like who would I put in that situation? I know we kind of talked about, we thought one of them would probably be out, but you do so and you never really think about who would actually go in there. I think a lot like Pittsburgh, it has to be, I think, an older veteran coach, I think, would be better. I don't know that I'd see a younger coach fitting in there as well. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, here's there's a couple interesting things here. Number one, and I believe it was Marcus Spears on ESPN, and I will give him all the credit in the world for this, because in talking about this yesterday, and again, as you mentioned, we talked about it on Friday, that we really felt the loser of this game was probably going to just need a change of scenery, both him and his organization. Obviously, we know it's Harbaugh. By the way, before I get any further in this, if you're one of those low-life pieces of shit with nothing better to do on your life than to blow up Tyler Loop's Instagram and send death threats and stuff like that because he missed a field goal, you are the lowest piece of shit in a world that there's a lot of pieces of shit in. If you can't handle losing a football game and that's the action you take, stop watching sports. If you think everything's rigged, stop watching sports. This is asshole of asshole behavior, and I'm sorry to be that damn colorful, but that was really reserved from what I really wanted to say. Let's get back to the Harbaugh thing here. And I think Spears said it best in this. Is the fumble from a couple years ago on Harbaugh? No, it's not. Is Mark Andrews' drop last year on Harbaugh? No, it's not. Is the missed kick on Harbaugh? No, it's not. But when you look at a totality of a situation, and a guy, and you got Roz checking in again here, 3 losing seasons since 2008. What it comes down to is over the last 4 or 5 years, it's the margins. It's being in the position in that game to have the missed field goal. It's being in the position of the game where you're trying to make the comeback against Kansas City and you fumble the ball. You're trying to tie Buffalo. It's the margins that I think made this decision. And we know Baltimore. We talk about the Steelers side of things a lot. This new iteration of the Ravens has only had 3 head coaches. He is the third. So very similar in that situation. If we remember correctly, when Harbaugh was hired the first time, it took the Ravens about 3 weeks to fill their vacancy after Brian Billick. And who is this special teams guy coming in here? And nobody would have thought at that time the special teams coach could have the success he did. Clearly, that changes the entire landscape. We're still waiting to find out if Todd Bowles keeps his job or not. You saw him defend himself yesterday. There's going to be teams, as we already know, and it was actually, I stand corrected, it was Brian Harlan is the agent for John Harbaugh. Within 45 minutes, there were 7 teams that called with only 6 other openings outside of Baltimore's. Obviously, everybody's going, oh yeah, right now, get Harbaugh. Harbaugh doesn't have to coach. He's got his pick of the litter here. But I see a couple interesting dynamics here. I blew up the Raiders, as everybody saw on our social channel this morning, for due reason, for canning Pete Carroll as quickly as they did. And I think I have no idea what the Raiders are thinking, because the Raiders have no idea what they're thinking. Would John Harbaugh be a great way to change the direction and the face of the Raiders? You bet your ass it would. Brian Flores is another name we keep hearing kind of floated out there. As far as Baltimore goes, and you brought this up, I think they're going to take their time. They're going to be extremely patient. I think you're going to hear names, the biggest of the big names that we usually hear, the John Grudens, the Rex Ryans. Baltimore is another team that really does need an identity. One of the names that's been floated out here a bunch is Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator of the Chargers, who has obviously familiarity with the Harbaugh family, which means I want to see the Raiders hire John Harbaugh, because I want to see John versus Jim twice a year, every year. But if you're the Raiders right now, this is like the gift of all gifts, because tell me John Harbaugh isn't the right guy to change the Raiders. They've got a lot of other problems, but that's the kind of move I think the Raiders need to take a swing at here.
I would just be interested if he would. Raiders are still under that umbrella of a rebuild, right? I mean, would he want to do that? And I know the NFL, you can rebuild a lot quicker now than you could, in the past. You can flip things a whole lot quicker. But it'd be interesting to see. The first thing that came to my mind when I seen it, because I was thinking the other day, I kind of, on my desk, I made a list of the teams that had coaches, and I'm like, okay, if I'm a head coach, where would I want to go? The first place that I thought when his name went out, New York Giants.
Yeah, there's a lot of obvious ties there for sure.
That's the one. That's a team that's kind of preset, and we've talked about this. Pretty good from an offensive standpoint. Some good defensive pieces there as well. I think he would enjoy that New York media market, New Jersey media market. I think that would be a good spot for him, just kind of, kicking the tires early on in this.
Yeah, and more from Jamison Hensley's report as far as what we're giving you here. And the reason I'm using his report, Jamison Hensley was actually in the building the day that Harbaugh got hired by Baltimore. There's no more plugged-in person to the Ravens than Jamison Hensley. Sources also told Adam Schefter that, obviously, as you just mentioned, that Harbaugh is expected to be a favorite for the job with the Giants. Sources also told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that Harbaugh was in touch with members of his staff Tuesday about the possibility of this being the decision, with the impression from those talks being that he had a say in the decision to leave and was expected to get right back into coaching this cycle. And I don't think with a last name Harbaugh, that statement surprises anybody here.
No.
I think it's very interesting what the Ravens do, because well short of expectations. They were the favorite in a handful of places to win the Super Bowl this year. You have the time with Lamar Jackson out. It's a roster that seemingly is ready to go. Do they go defensive? Do they go offensive? I think Harbaugh is going to have another job within 2 weeks. And I'm really interested because there's a couple of teams that haven't fired yet. One that we talked about in Todd Bowles. What happens in Tampa? I think Harbaugh would be a great fit there. I think he'd be a great fit anywhere. I think he'd be perfect for the Raiders. Another place I think he would actually be a really good fit, and we're going to have to wait to find out what happens in this, is another name that we've talked about quite a bit on this show. Tomorrow we'll get more into the nuts and bolts over the next 3 days of the actual matchups this weekend. But the Buffalo Bills, if they're to get bounced early, I think that's a very, very likely spot here. And I kind of teased it this morning, Mac, and our headline is Harbaugh. There's other guys out of a job today, and we'll get everybody caught up on that, mainly a lot of coordinators we saw today. But I think without a doubt the best job that's open, Mac, right now, that we know is open, is the Giants' job. You've got Jackson Dart, you've got Cam Scatteraboo, you've got Malik Neighbors. Obviously, Scat and Neighbors will be coming off injuries, but those are three incredible building blocks to go with. The defense needs a complete overhaul, but has pieces in Carter and Thibodeau and some of those other guys there. I think the Giants would be foolish not to put him at the top of their list, as would the Raiders be. But I think the Giants' job is without a shadow of a doubt. And you say, well, the Giants, I mean, look at what they've been. The Giants have the right pieces in place there to really, if they can keep these guys healthy, maybe do something about the turf at MetLife, who knows, they can move something forward very quickly here. What Baltimore does is the real weird thing that I have no beat or read on. And again, this happened, we're talking Arizona time, West Coast time, we'll go on that, about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, somewhere in that range. So it is still very fresh. I'm sure overnight and into tomorrow you'll see some names, but I'm interested. Do they go a Jesse Minter route? Because that, and here's the other thing with Harbaugh, is he's not going to go somewhere that doesn't have a solid organization, because of where he was for the last 18 years was about as solid as it gets from building a team.
I like that last point that you made. I was just kind of scrolling through and saying, the funniest part of this would be if he took the Cleveland job. Now that would be absolutely funny, to stay in the division and take the Cleveland. That would be funny. The other one that I think would be intriguing to me would be Atlanta. Because I think Atlanta has some of those qualities, especially from an offensive standpoint. That would be interesting. But I was leaning towards it, and when you said that about the organization, but that's an organization that we know is not afraid to spend money. And that might just be a thing where they just say, listen, what would it take to get him there? So maybe keep an eye on Atlanta. That might be one.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Atlanta, and when I was thinking about, what is the best job, and as I mentioned at the end of the video today, I'd tell you what I thought the best job was. Atlanta was the other one I thought about, but here's my issue with Atlanta. Obviously, you lost some draft capital. The Rams have the Falcons pick because of the James Pierce trade, and I don't think Atlanta is complaining about that right now. Pierce didn't have a Rookie of the Year season on defense, but he had a really solid year for them. I think there's enough pieces there on the defense. Obviously, there's enough talent on the offense. The reason I don't know about Atlanta being the best job open, at least to me, is the quarterback situation there. You've got Michael Penix coming off of an injury. Today we saw, and this is from Field Yates of ESPN, a little bit earlier today, right before noon, Falcons and Kirk Cousins agreed to modify the final 2 years of the quarterback's contract, setting the stage for a decision on his Atlanta future to be made by the third day of the 2026 NFL league year, which is March 13th. As part of the restructure, there's now a guarantee in the amount of $67.9 million for the 2027 season that vests on March 13th, giving the high unlikelihood that the Falcons or any team would acquire Cousins via trade before then. They would want to, and why anybody would want to be on the hook for $67.9 million. A decision on Cousins' future could come before that date. Here's the long and short of this. We've seen now a trending move by NFL teams to not be afraid to eat shit on a bad quarterback contract. Russell Wilson, your perfect example. Kirk Cousins could be the next example. The Deshaun Watson mess in Cleveland, the Kyler Murray situation that's coming up for now, the Cardinals who are looking for a head coach. The Kirk Cousins thing dictates a lot. I think the quarterback, that was a weird way to extend that one out. The quarterback questions at Atlanta make me concerned, but you've got guys on that defense that are young and hungry. You've got A.J. Terrell, who's really good in the secondary. I don't know his contract situation. Pretty sure he's still under contract. And you've got a guy who, if the team didn't suck this year and go 8-9 again, would be higher up in the consideration in some of these awards we're going to talk about later for Offensive Player of the Year in Bijan Robinson. I think that job is very attractive. Arthur Blank has shown that he is okay with spending money and trying to make a commitment. Matt Ryan expected to be the president of football there. I think that'll change directions. Those are good jobs. What's the one job right now if you're an NFL coach? You've been dying to be an NFL coach your entire life since little Vegas Mack was kicking footballs off the garage door. What is one job if you were in position to be an NFL head coach right now, you'd say, no way in friggin' hell I'd rather be the water boy than go take that job? Everybody wants to talk about the attractive ones.
Right.
And look at us. We're not going to talk about attractive anything. What's the worst job open right now that you wouldn't take as a prospective coach? I think it's clear to me, but
man, it's hard for me not to say Cleveland, just because.
I can understand that from you, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm still gonna say the Raiders because I still think there's something about that organization that just stinks. Like they just can't get it right. They make it sound like they want to do the right thing, and they try to do the right thing, but it just doesn't seem to work. So I mean, I look at them like you don't really have a good quarterback. You might have a good running back in Gentry. We don't really know. You've pissed off some of the players on the team. To me, the Raiders seem like a mess.
I definitely agree with you there. I think Tom Brady in his short stint as being in the management group there understands that what happened this past year can't happen again, especially because if you're Tom Brady at this point, you might actually need another minority investor just to cover all the money that you're paying to coaches that aren't coaching with you anymore. This is mind-blowing. That's why I was distracted. I was trying to find the picture of the $50 million club for the Raiders. That's a lot of money paid to guys who ain't coaching for you anymore. No. I heard an interesting thing about Brian Flores today. Brian Flores and Tom Brady, who are familiar with each other from playing time. Brian Flores, has he learned anything from his last head coaching stint? Clearly, we know he knows how to run a defense. And I could see Brian Flores being that opposite guy for the Raiders that completely changes the way things are done. But Ryan Fitzpatrick on Fitz and Wit today was talking specifically about Brian Flores and his time there in Miami. And he's unsure if Brian Flores didn't burn every bridge he had when all the drama started and how well that's going to be received. And his exact kind of comment was, Brian's going to wow you in an interview. He's a really great football guy. I can see him being a great fit for the Raiders, but when a guy who's been in the locker room says, I don't know how many bridges he burned and how much that's going to hurt him going forward, obviously you're going to have the number one pick. The most anti-Raider of all anti-Raider personalities possible in the history of Earth.
Oh my gosh.
In Fernando Mendoza, who... Like, I can see him after a Raider game, and he's being interviewed back. And I love this kid, so I'm not clowning on him. But right. I could see him after a Raider game, and he's being interviewed in his first home Raider game. And they're like, hey, what'd you think of Raider Nation, your first time at home? Man, these costumes were really great. And that guy over there, he had a really good job with his face paint. And, like, that's Fernando Mendoza, which is exactly kind of what the Raiders need. So if you hire a guy like Brian Flores, the hell are you going to do at offensive coordinator? Because that's now a massively important hire. I think the worst job, without a shadow of a doubt, is definitely the Arizona job. Because you want to talk about an organization who historically is like the worst organization in the history of the NFL. The difference between the Cardinals and Indiana football is Indiana football seemingly figured it out. The Cardinals can never figure it out. You've got the Kyler Murray albatross there. You've got an offense that really hasn't been able to unlock Marvin Harrison Jr. Part of that is the quarterback play. Monty Austinfort gets to keep his job in this situation, which is a little head-scratching to me because he compiled all this draft capital and was supposed to rebuild this roster great. And I know they were technically the most injured team in the league, but you have no depth with all these assets, and it's like, what are you doing? And now you're going into a year where it's either Jacoby Brissett and we try and tank for Arch Manning kind of situation, and here's our new coach, and who's going to want this job with a lame duck quarter? I think the Cardinals situation is an absolute train wreck and disaster, which is kind of apropos for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought a couple of years ago the Cardinals had kind of maybe figured it out a little bit. But that's just, again, it's another organization that just can't seem to get it right. They've tried the reboot. They tried going the veteran route. They tried going the young route. It just never seems to work for them. So you're right, though. I mean, I think there's I guess the reason I didn't put them last instead of the Raiders, I think there's just a little more talent on the Cardinals team. I mean, you still got Gentry, you still got Marvin Harrison, you still got tight end, I can't think of his name.
Trey McBride.
McBride, yeah. I mean, you still got those two. I mean, that's a good start. I mean, that's the only thing I worry about the Raiders if Tom Brady's going to go the Michael Jordan route with this, if he's going to become the how good an executive Michael Jordan was.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I think there's people willing to give him a pass for last year, but there's also a lot of people going, why did we make this hire in the first place if we weren't going to give a Super Bowl champion coach enough time to try and rebuild the thing? I know you were 3-14, but are you shocked that you were 3-14? Because I wasn't with the roster they had.
Right. And wasn't that kind of the point, the reason that they brought him in was they knew they weren't going to be at that level. It was to kind of build. So now you're upset that he here's the thing. He did what you asked him to do. I mean, he really did. I mean, he this is what you asked him to do. It was a rebuilding season from day one. And, you in essence fired a guy for doing what you asked him to do.
Couple of final thoughts here, we'll get a little more into the fired coaches, but maybe a final thought here. We'll get to a couple other headlines, then we'll get into college football and stuff like that. Feel free to comment along if you're watching along, and we'll get as many of them up as we can. Follow us on all of our social channels, at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. If you are in charge of the Raiders, Mack, in their current situation, knowing that you're going to have the number one pick, which we're going to assume is Fernando Mendoza, so a quarterback that's got a lot of kind of Tom Brady-ish traits and a likable guy that seems like he just loves the game of football and would be a great fit in Vegas, I think. Then you've got Genty and you've got Bowers, so you've got some core pieces there on the offensive side. Jackson Powers-Johnson getting hurt and being in and out as much as he was this year, like that didn't help them any. If you're the Raiders, knowing how long this process is going to be, because we would assume that the Chiefs are going to kind of retool and reload. Obviously, Mahomes will be out for a lot of the year. It looks like Denver and the Chargers are going to be in quite the battle with each other. If you're the Raiders, your most valuable asset can get you a hell of a haul back. But do you really want to trade a guy who I think is the prototypical New Age Raider in Max Crosby? Because that's the only valuable asset you have to try and rebuild this roster. The other one, Jacoby Myers, they traded in season to Jacksonville. Do you trade Max Crosby to hit full reset here? Or do you think you have the confidence to build this team around him? It's a tough call that the Raiders are probably going to have to make.
If I'm the Raiders, I have to go and make this is a huge, and we said this last year. I think we had to say this is a huge hire for the Raiders. If I'm the Raiders, I say, listen, I think we got some pieces here. I go and try to get somebody like Clint Kubiak as my head coach. I think that's the guy. I mean, did a great job turning, Seattle's offense, into a really good offense. I think somebody like that, somebody dynamic like that, you want somebody like that, young guy who's going to be able to work with Mendoza. I think that would be the best way to go about it.
It would be, but it's the Raiders, so we'll wait with bated breath. We'll get Tony's thoughts on the situation tomorrow
Yes.
because he's going to have a bunch of them. Let's get into a couple baseball headlines, then some college hoops, and we'll get into our X factors for the college football playoff semifinals and recap what was kind of a goofy week 18 and take a slight peek ahead to super wild card weekend. We're not going to call it that anymore, but it is what it is. The Toronto Blue Jays kept their offseason going today, Mack, in welcoming Kazuma Okamoto from Japan to their rotation of ball players up in Toronto, which is looking even more stacked than it was last year. Problem is they don't know where Okamoto is going to play yet. Blue Jays general manager Ross Atkins was thrilled to host a news conference for Okamoto 2 days after finalizing a 4-year, $60 million contract with the 29-year-old infielder. But given some uncertainty with other players who might or might not be Blue Jays next season, don't ask Atkins where his new addition might play in the field. He could impact our organization from a defensive standpoint in several ways. Atkins said we'll continue to have that dialogue from him. That comes from an ESPN News Services report earlier today. Now, why the questions? Well, you have a Gold Glove infielder, Andres Jimenez, who could move to shortstop if you re-sign Bo Bichette, who's taking his sweet-ass time, and I think he should because the Blue Jays should have never been in this position with Bo Bichette. But Bo Bichette possibly returning, going to second, would make Okamoto a lock at third. They also have Ernie Clement still under club control, so a guy that can back up at all those positions. Jimenez could easily make the transition from second base to shortstop. The Blue Jays, seemingly, Mac, have reloaded and are fixing a lot of the problem areas, and it doesn't look like they intend on stopping anytime soon. What do you make of the Bo Bichette situation and the Okamoto signing? Does it tell you anything about Bo because of Okamoto?
No, not necessarily. I think the way Toronto's approached this offseason, they've done so with an open purse. And so they could still have one more move in them. And so Bichette would be that. I just worry when kind of with we saw with the Dodgers, like kind of getting all of this talent. We've seen it with the Yankees accumulating all this talent. Sometimes baseball is the one sport where it doesn't always work. That's the thing. I mean, in a lot of sports it can. In baseball, it's one that it doesn't work. Even last year they went out and got Santander. That didn't work so well for them. They're throwing a lot of stuff out there. Like you said, and to still have questions about where they want to go. I'd be shocked if they didn't re-sign Bichette. I really do. I think he's back in Toronto. I think that they're waiting. It's definitely not going to be Bregman. Bregman's off the table for Toronto. There's no place to. I mean, you're not going to put Bregman at third. It's just not going to work. So, for me, I think it's going to be Toronto. If it's not Toronto, I don't know where he goes. Quite honestly. But if I'm the Blue Jays, I'm a little worried about that because I've seen these teams, especially like I said, baseball teams gathering all this talent and just sometimes it doesn't work out for them. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we definitely will. A couple other baseball headlines. The Phillies made a move. Not for anything that Phillies fans were probably thinking, but I like this move for the Phillies because of a lot of reasons. I'm going to be extremely high on the Phillies to win the World Series next year. I can tell you that right now with free agency not done because I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people in Philadelphia to get it done. But they hired Don Mattingly as Rob Thompson, Topper's bench coach today. Mattingly, who was with the Orioles or with the Blue Jays last year. Sorry. I've got Orioles winning the World Series on my mind for some reason as well. We'll get into those a lot later. But nice to see Mattingly. I think he'll be a huge help there. I can only imagine the conversations between Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner and Bryce Harper and Don Mattingly about baseball and hitting the baseball and how that helps maybe the Phillies, who we know are going to continue to kind of overhaul that thing there. But I like the move there in a non-player related move for the Phils. I think Mattingly's going to add a lot to a team that seemingly is always right there and can't get over the damn hump. Yeah,
that's a great position in baseball to kind of like like that assistant coach in basketball, that bench coach. That's a great job, and so many head coaches rely, and you see a lot of them. Uh, these bench coaches kind of go with these managers from job to job because there's such a great relationship. But I 100% agree when I saw that. I thought that was an absolute great move for the Phillies to have that veteran caliber person that they can go to. Yeah, from an offensive standpoint, such a great defensive standpoint. He's seen so much. That's a great move. I love that for Philly.
Yeah, and he replaces Mike Calitri, who's now the Phillies Major League Field Coordinator now. So I think a great addition for the Phillies there. It's we get a lot of these moves, especially with so many big free agents still out there, and we're in the height of the college football playoffs and the NFL playoffs getting ready to start. And there's a lot of moves in baseball that kind of go under the radar. For example, the Red Sox and Cutter Crawford avoiding arbitration. He'll be back on a 1-year deal there. But like little moves like a Don Mattingly move, those are kind of moves that always get overlooked at this time of the year, especially, and can usually turn into be somewhat significant moves when we get down the stretch. So interested to see how that works. Final one from baseball here, and I love this one because it's a shout out to our guys over at the Last Dive Bar. The Las Vegas Athletics were denied trademarks by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for Las Vegas Athletics and Vegas Athletics, the club which intends to move in 2028, as we know, the Western Sacramento Nomads, whatever the hell we're talking about with them. They were told the nickname Athletics was too generic and could be confused with other activities, even if associated with Las Vegas. Why this is funny, because the A's getting caught with their pants down is perfectly perfect for that shit organization, the way it's run, from ownership and ownership and ownership. I'm talking to you, John Fisher. Hilarious. Why our guys at the Last Dive Bar tie into this? The guys at the Last Dive Bar applied for the same thing when they found out that the A's did not, and they didn't get it for the same reasons. But the fact that our friends over at Last Dive Bar were smarter than the A's to think about doing this before the A's announced they were going there, that doesn't tell you about the A's organization. I don't know anything else that possibly can.
Man, oh man. I'm at a loss for words. I think it's hilarious. Now I'm curious. I mean, I think it was just a foregone conclusion that they were going to be the Athletics.
I have a different theory here though on this. I think because it would be very John Fisher, this was ultimately part of his dipshit plan, which almost makes him sound like a genius. You don't apply for it, then you can't be the A's in Las Vegas, so you have to change the name. So essentially you got an expansion team without paying expansion fees here. And I do like it because the Las Vegas Strippers is still in play for the A's, and let's just do it now because we know you can't be called the Athletics. I think this screams of John Fisher. Not that I want to give him credit for being this smart, but this is the kind of shit I could see John Fisher going, yeah, well, that history is no longer part of us. Like, that's a John Fisher move. It screams it to me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I didn't think about it from that standpoint, but you're right. It just, we're just going to wipe out the records and start over like it's literally day one.
Yeah, dipshit. Screw that guy. College basketball. We haven't had a chance to dive into it here.
Oh.
Our Tuesdays, we're going to give you our top 5 and the top 5 things that we're looking for next week. So before I let Mack unveil our first top 5 of the season, a couple teams in action tonight that are ranked pretty high. Michigan, 73-71 late in that game on FS1. A minute left. They're leading Penn State. Duke up 11 on number 20 Louisville at Louisville right now. And Florida is up 12 on number 18 Georgia. That game in Gainesville. Number 19 Iowa down 9 currently to Minnesota. But it's been an interesting start, and I know this is always your favorite part of college hoop season, Mac, is when we get into the early part of conference play. We've kind of got an idea who these teams are. We're kind of looking at teams now with enough body of work to go, hey, This team is a Final Four team. So without further ado, our first Mike Arana show top 5
All
of
right.
college basketball in 2026.
The number 5 was the hardest one for me because I had almost four teams that I was trying to figure out who I was going to put in that in that spot. Gave it away, but I ended up going with at number 5. I ended up going there with Iowa State. Still undefeated, 14-0. They
Love the
played well.
Cyclones, man. I
hmm
love that team this year. Like, they are good.
So before I go to number 4, I want to just mention the other teams that kind of made me think. The three other teams that I could have put in that spot, I had Vandy, Illinois, and Louisville. Those are the other three teams I was considering for that, and I think any one of those would have been good. I really do. So that's my number 5 spot.
Hey,
Uh,
since you mentioned them, Anchor
yeah,
Down Commies, the only basketball program to have the men and women both undefeated still at this part of the year. So I can very
yes,
much see your consideration there. Louisville as well. I think they've done a
yeah.
great job.
Yeah, good. At number 4, the University of Connecticut, the Huskies. As we said, deep, talented team. I think they're only getting better as the year goes. Definitely a Final Four contender there. Number 3, Arizona. I had to put Arizona ahead of UConn. They beat them on their court, so they get that number 3 spot.
Happy
And
life,
then
happy life.
yeah, there you go. And then tough for my 1 and 2. Um, I really two really good teams. I went Michigan number 2 and Purdue number 1.
Okay.
Um,
I can't say I argue. I can argue with that. I think you
I mean,
could. I think that's a good coin flip.
yeah, I mean Michigan. Really good defense. I watched Purdue for the first time in a little while. I mean, this is a team that's improved just their proficiency on offense. Oscar Clough is a beast in himself out there. Braden Smith, one of the best guards going. I mean, this is a fun team to watch if you haven't seen them. Purdue, but yeah, I think again Purdue, Michigan. Really those top 3 or 4 you can kind of almost interchange them at any point. They're
Yeah,
really good.
yeah, no, absolutely. And that Michigan Penn State game tonight,
hmm
73-72, 15 seconds left on that one. A good one coming up here in just a matter of minutes. Texas Tech, number 14 at 11-3 against number 7 Houston tonight. But I want to go back to your 5 team there, and
hmm
again, the teams that you included in the mix, I think I can make cases for all of them there. The one thing I think that excuse me, that has kind of changed. I Iowa State's been solid, but the one thing where I think I can see Iowa State this year kind of getting over the top is Tamin Lipsey's not having to do as much as he did
hmm
last year for them. You got 5 guys in double figures. Joshua Jefferson at 17 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Milan Momcilovic, and I'm going to butcher that, Cyclones fans. I'm going to get that
It's
name right
okay.
before we get done here. But Tamin Lipsey's not having to do everything for them
No.
this year, and I think that's what makes them really dangerous. They're next in action tomorrow night. If you haven't seen the Cyclones play yet this year, make sure you do. It's on
hmm
Peacock, unfortunately, but they are at Baylor tomorrow night, which will be a really interesting game as well. So when we're looking at college hoops as far as the week goes, because now we get into that part of the season where we've got select football games and they don't start till later on the weekends. So especially Saturdays, you got a great chance to watch college football. Our top 5 things
hmm
to watch for this upcoming week, or in college hoops, I should say. Iowa and Purdue tomorrow night. I'm really interested to see that one. You mentioned Purdue as the number 1
hmm
team in the country. This Iowa team uh, going through
Always tough.
kind of a rebuilding process here, but playing really really well right here. That's a game I'm definitely looking to see. Nebraska. We saw them last night against Ohio State. Fantastic game. If you haven't seen Nebraska yet, this is another
Very
team
good.
kind of in that same ilk
hmm
as you were just talking about, Mac, in Iowa State and like Louisville and some of those other teams that you mentioned. This Nebraska team is really damn good. They're 15-0 now with that win last night in Columbus. They play next on the Big Ten Network on Saturday against Indiana, but I'm really, really impressed with this Nebraska squad, at least out of the gates here.
Yeah, they play really well. I mean, they're good. I mean, again, this is the great thing about conference play is that you know it's iron sharpening iron is what we got in there. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, and I see in the script they have Ohio. You said Ohio State, then they have Indiana. I mean, it doesn't stop. I mean that conference is great. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and last night that game that they played against Ohio State came right down to the freaking wire,
Hmm.
72-69. They get the win. Frager and Hoiberg had big games for Nebraska, and yes, that is you're thinking exactly of the right Hoiberg there. That's Sam
Hmm.
Hoiberg, the son of Fred Hoiberg. Michigan does get the win 74-72 over Penn State for the number 2 ranked Wolverines there. As far as the rest of the week goes, Mac, Florida and Vanderbilt. Florida's at Vanderbilt on Saturday. We know the thing with the Gators is their front court, a bunch of big guys, very, very skilled. Outside of Ruben Chinyelu, all the big guys can shoot from the outside. It's the guard play of the Gators that has really kind of been in question this year. Xavier Lee has had a good year. Boogie Flan, not so much. So interested to see that one as the Gators knock off Georgia tonight, 92-77. And I just mentioned that Vanderbilt team, Mac, still being undefeated in both men's and women's basketball going into play today. And, you know, Vandy's got Tennessee on Saturday early at Tennessee. Vandy and Tennessee, always good games. But I think that's another fun one to watch. And then finally, and I know you've got a lot of thoughts on this one as well as, you know, kind of what I was saying there. Purdue at USC at the Galen Center. That's also on Saturday. But the Big East has been kind of interesting to me this year. There's one ranked team, UConn. Who's going to compete with UConn is the question. St. John's not off to a great start. Neither is Creighton. Marquette, Shaka Smart's refusal to deal with agents, I think, is going to hurt Marquette in the long run. And you guys all know what I think of Shaka. But the Big East has been very interesting. That Purdue, USC, and Florida Vandy games on Saturday, 2 games I will definitely have on the second screen.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. I mean, the Big East is definitely a step, maybe even 2 steps down this year from what we've seen. Usually, you can always get a couple of teams that are going to be ranked and fighting for it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Big East schedule is still tough. Like you said, conference play is conference play. You still got some good teams there, but I mean, I don't know that this year there's going to be a team that's really going to have a good chance. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated in the conference, but I don't think there's going to be any team that's going to be able to consistently play with UConn. It's just one of those years. They're by far and away the best team in the conference.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it
scary
is.
the difference in the level of play at the Big East this year, that there really is nobody that seemingly looks like they're going to compete with UConn in the Big East, which
And
sucks because it's always one of the best conference tournaments to watch.
yeah, and you know, there's so much. I mean, there's an article every week that I read about UConn going to a different conference, and you know, we all know that from a football standpoint, they're an independent, so they're searching for a home. You know, I. I don't know how many. I mean, obviously, I follow all of UConn sports. I mean, this is from a school perspective. This is a deep school with. I mean, um, their baseball team is very competitive. You know, they've gone, you know, to the regional finals the last couple of years. Their soccer team has made it to the NCAA tournament. You know, basketball team. You go to the women's side, they're women's sports. They're always one of the top field hockey teams. And I know that's not a big sport, but I'm just saying. I mean, they have a very good athletic program, and so I feel bad. I mean, I long for the days of the old Big East. I thought it was starting to get there. I thought with Rick coming to St. John's that they would kind of push it. I mean, they have a great new. I mean, I think from a coaching standpoint, I mean, if you look at the coaches in the Big East and line them up from basketball, I mean, they've got as good a coaching staff of all of those coaches in any conference. They really do. I mean, the diversity and what those from, you know, McDermott and he said Shuck. I mean, these are great coaches. They haven't put it together the last couple of years.
No, they haven't been able to, and that'll be the interesting thing to watch going forward. So every Tuesday night, our top 5 on the show and our 5 things to watch as we walk you into college basketball season. A lot of people, this is about the first time of the year that they check it out, but there's some really good games. Again, you want to see a couple of good ones: Florida and Vandy, and Purdue out west at USC, both on Saturday. All right, let's get into the college football playoff semifinals, Mac, as we get to Thursday in the Fiesta Bowl, which will see Cinderella Ole Miss and Cinderella Miami, and then the other one on Friday, which is Sean McDonough on the call of this one, Indiana
cool.
and Oregon. So obviously, with a few days in between here, we didn't want to just get right into game picks. So we're going to kind of look at this step by step today, tomorrow, Thursday on Lunchtime Live, and as well on Friday. But we wanted to start our previews here and look at one key player from each team, guys that we think are going to be difference makers in this round here. If you've got thoughts on the college football playoff and where we're at, some predictions. My championship prediction from when we did our predictions at the beginning of the college football playoff can't happen. I had Oregon, almost said Oregon, like the people that say that I hate. I had Oregon and Georgia. That's clearly not going to happen. I've still got a chance with the Ducks there. Who did you have in yours? Was it Indiana and Texas Tech?
No, I
actually forgot, so I wasn't setting you up, but the way you're laughing, I can't wait to hear it now.
You don't remember? I had the epic Notre Dame ASU final.
That was last year. I'm talking about this year.
Yeah, no, that was this year's. That was my this year pick.
No, when we reset them at the beginning of the college football playoff. I do remember that from our preview show, yes.
Yeah, it was Texas Tech. I don't remember. I'd have to look. I know it was, You're right, though. But I don't, yeah, sorry.
Right now we got Miami as of right now. This is per DraftKings, -3.5 for the Hurricanes, the 10-seeded Hurricanes, 3.5-point favorites. Your over-under total in this one, 52.5. I'm not going to spoil ticket prices because it is a Ticket Tuesday. Maybe this one makes Max list, maybe it doesn't. But let's get into the Canes and the Rebels. Two great stories here, Mac, and I'll let you start. Give me a key player in this game for either team you want to start with.
I'll start with Miami. I'll go with Keontae Scott. He is somebody that they've used to blitz and has had success in the blitz packages that Miami has. So I think that's why he's important there, because I think they need to get pressure on Ole Miss. But the other thing is, Miami's been so good at the running game, and if Lacey, where he gets his yards, most of his yards, because the Ole Miss offensive line is not good, most of his yards come from after that first contact. And who's there? That second contact, it's Keontae Scott. So that's why I think he's going to play a large role in this game, not only from a blitzing perspective, but also can he help and continue to help stop the run game.
All right, so you started with a Hurricane. I'll start with a Rebel here, and you already mentioned him. It's Kewan Lacey. And if you were watching the Sugar Bowl start to finish, you saw Kewan Lacey get that shoulder kind of jacked around a couple of times late in that game. I've got concerns about the health of that shoulder, and if he takes another big hit, which this Miami defense is going to bring to the table with TJ's guy, Reuben Payne, I worry about if he gets popped on that shoulder again. He's not on the injury report. He's not listed as maybe not going to be able to play. He's playing, and he's so much of the compliment to Trinidad Chambliss, who, as we've found out, it's a matter of days before his waiver gets granted, and he will be back at Ole Miss next year.
Good for him.
So great for the Rebs. But I think Kewan Lacey for me is a huge key, because I don't know how healthy that arm is, and if he gets cracked the right way, and I hope to hell this doesn't happen, because in this game needs Kewan Lacey in the football game. So I think he's a key. On the field, he changes the game. Off the field, it's way more easy, I think, even though he's better outside of the pocket, Trinidad Chambliss is. It's just you're taking away a hell of a 1-2 punch. I mean, you look at some of these numbers.
Absolutely.
from Lacey down the stretch. 224 against a Gator defense that was actually pretty good. 143 against Mississippi State, 87 at almost 6 yards a clip against Tulane, and then the 98 with the 2 tutties in the Sugar Bowl. So I think Lacey's my key there. Give me your other key in this game, another Rebel.
All right. Of course, I don't like to follow the rules, so I have 2 because they kind of go together. Yeah, I know. But they're both on the defensive line. That's Will Eccles and Xavion Harris. They've got to figure out how to maneuver, get through those double team blocks of the Miami Hurricanes offensive line. If Miami can grind this game like they've been able to do, this game is going to be about the T word, tempo. Which team can dictate the tempo of this game? Ole Miss is going to want to go. Miami, not so much. So this is the key thing. Can those 2 big dogs in the middle somehow, some way, get through and slow down even more? I mean, here's what they really want to slow down that Miami rushing game. It can't be 5 yards and 3 yards. It's got to be, can they get it down to, just 2 yards on first down or 3 yards on first down? Because Miami has, if they're playing ahead of the sticks, they are going to win this game. So those 2, I think, are key for me. Miami's offensive line has been great all year long. Let's credit where credit is due, but they're going to play the key role in trying to disrupt whatever Miami can do from a running perspective.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely head on. My key for the Hurricanes is simple. You said this game is going to come down to the T word, tempo. I'm thinking this game's going to come down to the other T word, turnovers, and it's Carson Beck. And I said this when we talked on, I believe it was Friday's show. Since that SMU game and some rough play slightly before that, Carson Beck has been really damn good. 12 touchdowns, 1 interception over his last 5 games. If they get that Carson Beck, Miami, I think, probably is just better from a football standpoint, from a talent standpoint, than this Ole Miss team. And I think that's the key. Can Miami keep Trinidad Chambliss in the pocket and make him beat them from the pocket? On the flip side, I think the quarterback play of Carson Beck is even more important, because if the Carson Beck that's been there the last 5 games is there again, I think that's how Miami wins the game. Again, we'll get more into the predictions.
Yeah.
Mack will make his official predictions on tomorrow's show because that's his last one for the week. TJ will get his on Thursday. I will finish mine up on Friday. We'll get more into the straight-up matchup on tomorrow's show. Let's go to the other semifinal, which is the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, the one everybody's waiting to see. And by the way, is this not the most or one of the more underrated little 5-day stretches on the sports calendar that we've got? Thursday, Friday, 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, and Monday night. Like, this little 5-day stretch of football, highly underrated, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, it's crazy how much really good football. And I had 2 things. I don't want to forget about this, but I do want to mention you came to the dark side last night. I didn't want to say anything.
I've been sick for a month. I don't recollect anything.
Could you tell the people how you came finally to the dark side last night? What were you watching?
What the hell was I? Oh, how did I forget about this shit? I was watching the FCS title game last night.
Yes, you came to the dark side. Yes.
Dude,
wasn't it great?
Incredible. And I felt so horrible for the Illinois State kids.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling the wife about the game last night and how Illinois State wasn't even sure if they were going to get in. And then they were down and they had a field goal blocked. They ran it all the way back. And then the last 10 minutes of that game, holy shit, was that impressive last night as Montana State, your national champions.
Isn't it funny how the football playoff system doesn't work?
Yeah, right?
Right, exactly.
That game was wild, dude. I'm so happy you reminded me of that because I literally was like, I text both of you guys. I'm like,
right.
This FCS title game is ridiculous.
I about fell off my chair. I didn't think you were going to come to the dark side, but you did. That was great. All right.
I've always watched the FCS playoffs though because I do like I do like the dynamic of it, and like this year, and again, we were just talking about Ole Miss and Miami. It's kind of ironic that you brought it up. Then it was perfectly timed. It was like a deep fade to me in the corner, and I Calvin Johnsoned everybody on it. But we have a 10 seed in Miami. Well, that's Miami. They're not a Cinderella. We're talking about James Madison. Listen, you got a 10 seed and a 6 seed. You could have a national title game that's a 10 versus a 5. You could have a national title game that's a 6 versus a 5. You could have a national title game that's a 1 versus a 10. I get it that it's not James Madison,
Right.
but I think everybody would bitch about that in general. So, like, when you watch it from the FCS side of things, like, dude, it was freaking cool. Like, and Illinois State was a Cinderella. Eventually, with the way college football is and NIL and all this stuff, paid to play. I think I told you guys this, both you and T. I finally watched it. It was on the new ESPN app called ESPN. It was really good, and it's a really good look into how college sports is really working right now.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, we're going to get to that point where one of these smaller schools that qualifies for the auto bid is good enough to make a run like an Illinois State just did in the FCS. Nobody's going to count that this year because it's Miami and Ole Miss, but the way this is set up is perfect. I still would rather see a reseed, but again, we're just going to the FCS model. We're talking about all these fancy things. We know where we're headed, and that's a good thing for college football. It is.
And then I had my aha moment. I just got to bring this up because I didn't even realize it. I was just.
Were you watching the dart championship? Because that sounds like something you would tell me.
No. This is honestly about football. I didn't realize that if Miami wins, they're going to play on their home field.
Yeah.
I didn't even
field. They play home games there,
right? But I mean, more their home field than anything else, right?
The Rams have a better home field advantage than Miami does.
But I didn't even realize that. Didn't even because I forgot. I knew it was in Miami, but I wasn't even thinking about it. Anyway,
Oregon probably left half their shit there because the Dolphins aren't using the stadium, so Oregon could be back. Let's talk about Oregon in Indiana, the Peach Bowl semifinal. Indiana favored by 3.5. Now, this number's kind of floated between 4.5 and 3.5. Your over-under total on this one, 47.5. We know they played earlier this season in Autzen. Don't have the final score in front of me. If I remember correctly, because I'm a psychopath, 30. It was 30-20.
20, yeah, something like that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
It was a closer game on the score than it really kind of turned out to be. X factors in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, with Chick-fil-A actually open because it's on a Friday night in Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. Give me an X factor. You start with whichever team you want.
I'm going to start with Oregon, and it's a big X, and it's not a far reach, and it's Dante Moore. He's got to play better. He didn't play bad in the first game, but he's got to be the difference in this game for me. I think it hinges more on him. Again, he's not blocking the guys up front, and that was a problem the last time they played. But I still think it's on Dante Moore.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree with you there. He's definitely got to play better than he did the last time. And we know, again, we're going to get more into the matchup tomorrow and specifics about it. But, like, we've talked about it with Indiana so many times. And there was a great article on SI that I still have to send to you guys today about how historic Indiana in their 14-0 season actually is as far as, like, turnovers and limiting turnovers and everything. They don't make mistakes. The irony that the only game they had 2 turnovers in, and this comes from Herb, because I heard him say it on their show the other night, the Herb and Raj podcast, which you should be following if you follow the show.
Absolutely.
The only game that Indiana had 2 turnovers in was against UCLA this year, and that was by both the Mendoza brothers throwing an interception in that game. That's that's how crazy it is to see Indiana turn the ball over. For me, when I look at it, it's an offensive player, but it's Charlie Becker, who did not play in the first game against Oregon at Autzen Stadium. We saw the huge plays from Becker in the Rose Bowl, but we know what Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt are going to do. I talked on Friday when we were recapping what we saw, Mack, in our Friday show, the 1-2 punch of Kalen Black and Roman Emby, how good those two are together. I think Charlie Becker is an X factor here because Oregon's going to know about the 1-2 punch in the backfield. They have a good defense, especially up the middle. Their defense played a good game, even forced a turnover, something Indiana doesn't really do with the pick of Mendoza that they took back for a touchdown late in that game. I think Charlie Becker is a huge X factor here because with the attention that Cooper, Surratt, Hemby, and Black are going to get, if Charlie Becker is now that thing that Oregon hasn't seen enough in person because he didn't play, and I think he's a guy that gets massively overlooked. He's their third leading receiver, but he averages 20.2 yards a reception. Like, Charlie Becker is a big play maker for the Hoosiers. I think he's a huge X factor. Give me your Indiana X factor.
Man, you're going to hate this answer. I'm just letting you know right now.
You're going to love my answer for my Oregon X factor. I haven't told you guys the story yet.
There isn't one. And here's why. Indiana is in a lot of ways as vanilla as a team as you can possibly get. This is a team that goes out, does the things that they're supposed to do. They don't make mistakes. They just play football, and they play football very, very well. I think we've heard this a lot. Well, last year it was the competition. Their competition wasn't really good. And you saw when they played better teams how they didn't lose. Oh, they don't have the talent. It's not the case anymore. They're good and they have the talent. So I don't think there is an X factor. I think this is a team that is as much truly a team that I've seen in college sports in a long time. I think they're a one unit. They are a unit. So there is no X factor. They are the X factor.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And the scary thing for everybody, first of all, I love this time of the year when we were talking off the top. We're going to get a little more into it here in a second on the NFL coach firings. And I saw somebody was like, if the Raiders are smart, they hire Cignetti, they draft Mendoza, and they go. Like, listen, bro, fantasies are great, but that ain't going to happen. They're going to draft Mendoza first. If they don't, they're the dumbest damn organization in the history of sports. Right. Number two, Curt Cignetti is not going anywhere. And if you were asleep at the wheel when we talked about the portal being open the other day, if you haven't seen what Indiana's already grabbed in the transfer portal, Indiana's going to be a pain in your ass for a long damn time. And Curt Cignetti will average 1.6 smiles per season, and that's all you freaking get. When I look at Oregon, and there's a lot of people I think that don't think Oregon has a chance in this game. I picked Oregon at the beginning of the year to win the national title. I picked them again when we reset, when we knew what the field was, because I've believed in their defense and I've preached their defense all year long. Their middle, the way they play up the middle eight, if you will, really, really good. I think Tosh Lupoy leaving the Ducks after this year to head to Cal, being the next coach at Cal, I think is a little bit bigger of a loss than Stein is, who's headed to Kentucky. But Bryce Betcher and Dylan Theinman, and I butchered it, I get it. The Caucasian Collision Unit for Oregon. They actually have T-shirts that say Caucasian Collision Unit.
That's awesome.
I didn't pick them as my X factor because it sounds cool and it's a cool T-shirt. The shirt's badass. But these two guys are the difference makers. They set the tone for that Oregon defense. And remember, at the beginning of the year, and even when these two teams played the first time, Oregon was still working a lot of new guys, transfers into the secondary. You saw Finney the other day against James Madison. Well, it was just James. You saw what he can bring to the table. Uiagalelei in that game, the game against Texas Tech, I meant. Uiagalelei with that strip sack. But Theinman and Betcher, those two, who they call the Caucasian Collision Unit, the most pressure's on them. Because if Hemby gets to that second level, those are the guys that got to stop them. If they're going for a Charlie Becker across the middle with Surratt and Cooper going deep, it's those guys that are going to have to control that defense in the middle. I can't wait to see this, and I think legitimately I can see this going either way. I would love to see Indiana finish this. I really, really would. But I also don't have any doubt in my mind that Indiana is now going to be a team that's going to be in the whatever 12, 14, 16 college football playoff field that we have more times than they're not going to be there. Curt Cignetti wins. Google him. he wins. They're not going anywhere. I think those two guys make the biggest difference in this game for Oregon. I think this game is going to be really, really, really damn close. I think the best shot to knock off Indiana comes in the Peach Bowl. If they get through the Peach Bowl, I think there's a possibility we're looking at a TCU getting the living crap beat out of them in the national title game from a few years ago situation. I don't think Ole Miss and Miami have a prayer against Indiana.
Well, it's interesting. I'll have to think about that. Maybe just a little bit. I think for me, this is a big game. I think for Dan Lanning. I really do.
I would agree with you.
I think I was trying to read my notes. You know, there's a guy who coached Penn State last year. You may remember him. He's not coaching there anymore, and everybody kind of gave him a lot of crap because he didn't win big games. But the fact he did play in a championship game last year. And TJ has this segment on his show, right? I think you know where I'm going with this.
You're not putting Dan Lanning on a friggin' hall pass list.
I love the guy. But let's listen. If he doesn't win this game, might have to give T a call. But I do think, in all seriousness, I think this is a big game because he's winning the games that he's supposed to win, but he's not getting over that hump. I mean, I'd take him in a minute. I love him. I think he's a great coach. I love what he does, but still got to win it, and he still hasn't. So I know
we're bringing that up when T's on the show tomorrow night.
All right, we'll see.
So do you give Dan Lanning no credit for beating the living shit out of Texas Tech this week?
No, I give him all the credit. I give him credit for beating James. I mean, everything that they've done. I give him full.
So you think Lanning's at like the level where it's like, hey, you got to at least be in the championship game now because you've set that bar? I think that's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah,
from what you're saying.
I think so. I think
that's fair.
Well, here's the thing. So if he loses now to Indiana twice in a row, right? Okay. Division, and now Cignetti's still now going to be there again. It's kind of like all of a sudden, like, well, it kind of goes back to that whole, when Harbaugh couldn't, beat Ohio State. It's like, oh, now you can't beat this team. You can't beat this team. What's going on? It's like, I think he needs one of those kind of. It sounds silly, but I think he needs a big victory.
I can see that. Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of pulling out of what you said is now with Lanning, we're at you got to be a semifinalist every year and you got to get to the title game a handful. And here's the interesting thing that you brought that up, though. If they were to lose to Indiana for the second time, looking ahead on next year's Big Ten schedule, the only time they would see Indiana next year would be in the Big Ten title game. And obviously these two teams getting very familiar with each other, and Indiana now being a football school. I think this is and these guys you've seen it this week already, joking back and forth with each other during the press conference call. Kirk Cignetti was talking about the transfer portal and how many guys they got, and Lanning goes, yeah, you know what, why don't you focus on those guys? Like, they have a very good, healthy respect for each other. Yeah. They don't play each other in the regular season next year, so the only time they could meet would be in the Big Ten title game next year. So this one's going to hang around for somebody for a while. And
that, my friends, is part of the problem with college football, that you have a budding rivalry in your conference, ladies and gentlemen, in your friggin' conference. Yep. And you can't get them to play. I mean, who does Oregon have? Who can we get? Who do we pay? I mean, they got damn money. Who do we take off their schedule to get Indiana on the schedule next year?
Well, I'll give you their schedule for next year in order as far as we know. The first three in order. Boise State at Autzen. Then they're at Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Then they're home for Portland State.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hold on. I haven't even got to who you could take off the schedule yet.
Well, Portland. You don't need to play Portland. I didn't know they had a football team.
Barely.
Sorry, Portland.
They play at Illinois, at Michigan State, They host Michigan. They host Nebraska. They host Northwestern. They host UCLA. They host Washington. Their other 2 road games at Columbus and at USC. So they got an interesting schedule. I mean, you could probably flip Nebraska off because they're not a serious organization.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Interesting. This one's going to hang around for a long time for either one of these teams. We'll get more into our actual predictions for the games tomorrow. Mack will make both of his tomorrow, as I said.
All right.
TJ will make his on Thursday. I will make mine over the course of Thursday and Friday. But Week 18 in the NFL, it was interesting. It started out with a really good game. Then it started out with the 49ers offense putting out their worst performance in the history of their time with Kyle Shanahan. And then we ended with Ravens and Steelers doing Ravens and Steelers things. And oh, by the way, Atlanta was mixed in there to win the South for Carolina in the most NFC South thing of all time. What did you make in general of Week 18 before we get into specifics? It was kind of a dud, I thought, for the most part.
I actually, I mean, there were some really good games. I didn't really think it was all that bad. I mean, maybe I was just lucky and I just caught some of the better games. I will say I did watch a lot of the Jacksonville game because I really wanted to kind of get a feel of Jacksonville. That wasn't a great game, but there were some good ones. The Browns and Bengals game was pretty good. The Falcons and Saints game, I wouldn't put it in a good category. It was somewhat of an entertaining game, if you will. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch a single down of the Bears and the Lions, which was kind of interesting. So, but I thought there were some really good games. I had my focus on a couple of games, and I completely missed the Bears and Lions.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend. I survived.
We have them.
I went live on, as you saw, I went live on our TikTok channel and our Facebook channel and just wanted to get kind of a live reaction and see how everybody felt. There's a lot of people going, oh, Brock Purdy, they're back to the same bullshit we do with Brock Purdy all the time. Oh, system quarterback. See, he's not very good. Mike McDonald is the kryptonite for Brock Purdy. And this goes all the way back to Christmas, Niners, Ravens, about, I think it was 2 seasons ago. Mm-hmm. Brock Purdy looked like crap in that game. Who was the defensive coordinator of that game? Oh, it was Mike McDonald. Significantly higher interception rate against Mike McDonald defenses. And the biggest thing that Mike McDonald defenses have done to Brock Purdy. And again, Mike McDonald, and it was funny because I got a bunch, and Herb and Raj talk about this all the time. We all know it, point blank. Your team loses, people got your phone number. They're ball busters. They always send you the, hey, what happened? Blah. That's why, that was part of the reason I wanted to go live. If you've paid attention to this damn show for the last couple of years, especially from the day that the Seahawks hired Mike McDonald, there is nobody outside of the city of Seattle that has sung Mike McDonald's praises more than me. Yeah, and now you're hearing everybody else go, oh, it looks like they're rebuilding the Legion of Boom. I've been saying that for 2 years. And I'm not a backpatter. You know that, Mac. But
no,
Mike McDonald knows how to screw with Brock Purdy, and he did it again on Saturday night.
I was going to say, you're like the favorite son of Seattle. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean,
not after some of the shit I said Saturday night.
Well, maybe not. But I mean, you really have that. I mean, and for it to be,
he's a coach, man. He's a coach.
I mean, that would be, you guys react the same way when I talk about the New York Yankees and give them any sort of credit. You're like, you're feeling good. We need to
exactly
911 on the line. Get some help right away. Who do you need to talk to? But I mean, you really have. I mean, you've from the day he was hired, you've been on that Seattle train. So yeah, I mean, I get exactly what you're talking about. You like that team, even though it gives you some sort of frustration. So, but we need that sometime. I mean, and that's part of being it. I mean, win or lose that game, I mean, here's the good thing about the 49ers. They're in. And you're at this point, you can't win if you're not in. And so that's all they have to worry about. And I know you wanted them to be home the whole time, but sometimes there's some pressure with that as well. This may be a better road for them,
We're
literally.
gonna make our official Super Bowl picks with now that we know the official field. Some of us have to change picks from the beginning of the year. Some of us don't, but we're gonna do those tomorrow. And I had some kind of interesting thoughts after the game. I thought it was immensely important for San Francisco to have home field, get the bye, get Trent Williams back, not have Tatum Bethune tear his groin off of his friggin' leg and another linebacker out. All that stuff. At the same time, I don't think it's a killer for a team that you really can't throw anything at the 49ers from an injury standpoint, from a where they have to play standpoint that they haven't seen. And of course, again, the dipshits after the game on Saturday night. Oh, Kyle Shanahan shit his pants again in a big friggin' game. No, how about Mike McDonald's defense is that damn good?
Mm-hmm.
And I said it, and you saw it to a T. When we talked about this on Friday, I literally said, because it's on the damn whiteboard right next to me here, what Seattle's defense does best is they put you in the bad position, the third and longs, the second and longs. They stop you for a yard gain on first. They back you up. And like a lot of teams do, they back off and they protect the sticks. That's when Seattle goes, oh no, hell, now it's on. And they did that on Saturday, and they dominated. On the flip side, and I said this in our live, Mac, I still have questions about the offense. They only put up 13 points. Sam Darnold, he was 20 of 26 for $198, efficient, did the job. You asked me something during the Steelers-Ravens game when you were down on the Steelers before halftime, and I said it's still a Steelers-Ravens game. The shit hasn't hit the fan yet. And you said, do you think the Steelers can score 20 points? And I said yes. And they did, and they won the game.
They did.
Seattle is the same question I would ask in a game. Can Seattle score 20 points in this game? And I have a lot of trouble answering that because without their defense, their offense for the better part of the last 6 weeks has not looked very great. And they didn't look great against an undermanned Niner defense other than running the ball. They ran all over them.
Yeah.
Even then, they were only at 4.6. It's not like they were at 5.8. Their offense still makes me nervous.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those. I really think it's about the matchups for them. I think they're just certain teams like if they were to get in against against Carolina, I think they would be able to score against Carolina. I just think that's like a defense that they could score against. I even think like even if they get to play the Bears, if it got to that, I think the Bears defense it could be. Or even the Packers in there. But I mean,
Packers got a short schedule over Saturday night. If you want a hint, the fact that the Packers are favored in Chicago, pound the Bears. I've already done it myself, so you're not hurting me. Pound the Bears. That's the dumbest thing I've seen all weekend. Sorry.
No, but you're right. I mean, if it's kind of like the opposite of the 49ers. I think the 49ers will go as far as in essence, that their defense is going to take them because their offense is so good. I think it's the same way with Seattle, but flip it around the other way. They're going to go as far as their defense is going to take them, but is their offense going to take them because their defense is going to carry them. So it's an interesting battle.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we'll talk about that Eagle-Niner matchup here very briefly. Again, we're going to get more in depth in the actual matchups, but so many Eagles fans. This is going to be fun because these two teams really do hate each other, San Francisco and Philadelphia, and that's been very recent, but it's become very vitriolish, and this goes back to the NFC title game where Brock Purdy had his elbow blown up right at the beginning. It's interesting because I have a scenario where I think there's no chance the Eagles can win that game if we get to that scenario, and maybe it's because of Nick Sirianni, my boy, and what he did this weekend. We'll go into Steelers-Ravens here because a lot of things, and we started the show with the Jim Harbaugh news, or the John Harbaugh news, excuse me. other coaching moves that we're just going to gloss over right now. Again,
Do you think I just thought of that. Do you think that was the other team? Do you think the Chargers called him and said, "Hey, you want to be a coordinator?"
No, no,
Okay,
not at
okay.
all. I
All
do
right.
want the Raiders to hire him because I'd love to see Harbaugh and Harbaugh twice every year.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Cliff Kingsbury not coming back to Washington. Joe Witt Jr. out as the defensive coordinator. So 2 new coordinators for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders next year. The Joe Witt one, not a surprise as Dan Quinn took over the defensive play calling. I think Detroit for a while there is better with him calling the defensive plays. The offensive move, I didn't really see Kingsbury leaving, especially with Daniels being out all year. Was a little shocked. John Morton fired in Detroit, the offensive coordinator. He will not be back. Not a surprise there. We were just talking about taking play calling duties away. Same thing happened in Detroit in Week 10. And Matt Eberflus fired in Dallas.
Yeah.
The Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. And we thought one of the coaches that lost the game was going to end up on the outside. We think there might be a possibility that both of them still could. I think more unlikely on Tomlin's side now. But what a wild freaking game. And I was just kind of explaining to the people watching out there that, you were kind of going through it. And as soon as you said this one's over, the joke with us from the Celtics being down 25 to the Pacers a couple of years ago, you said it's over, I'm going to bed. TJ sends a text right after that game was over and goes, should we wake him up? And I go, no, let's let him find out in the morning. This weekend when you said it and watching the flow of the game, I went, you know what? Pittsburgh's getting their ass kicked here in the first half. They look way out of sync. They look like they're missing DK Metcalf. But this is Steelers-Ravens at the end of the year with a lot going on, and this game really hasn't officially started yet. And then the TJ Watt play happened, and the game started. A 27-point fourth quarter in a game that had 50 points total was Steelers-Ravens to a T. Give the people a little insight of your emotional train and just what you thought of the game in general.
My emotional train was off the friggin' track, is what it was. Well, it's funny.
I don't know if it was on the track before the game started.
It's true.
You were very positive Steelers before the game started.
I was because I really thought they were the better team. But Jonathan called me, and he gets me on me all the time because he knows how much I have against Tomlin. And he called me, I think in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter.
Mike Tomlin called you in the fourth quarter?
No, he should have, because he obviously wasn't coaching. But he called me and he's like, what are you going to think of Tomlin if he wins this game? I'm like, Tomlin's not winning this game. Have you watched any of the game? Like, that was a total disaster of a
I'm
game.
laughing because I can hear this conversation happening, knowing the parties involved.
And I'm like, what part of he's coached a good game? He had a field goal at the end of the first half that he should have kicked. That none of this other stuff probably would have happened if he just kicked the field goal. You have that. Then he's blitzing. They can't cover anybody on third and fourth down. I mean, these touchdowns that Baltimore were getting, like there was nobody within 30 or 40 yards of these receivers. So I don't know what sort of hokey pokey defense they were running, but it was
the same one they ran in '96. We've talked about this already.
Exactly. Well, and then from an offense, listen. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, listen, I'm all due respect to this guy. I really, truly. I mean, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how those helmets work, but this is what I'm doing. I'm taking
Jesus, that was a scene, man.
Yeah, I'm taking that out, whatever it is. The headphones, I'm shutting it off, I'm ripping it out, I'm throwing it out, and I'm just gonna stay like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Can't hear you because when he's calling the plays instead of Arthur Smith's calling the plays, the Steelers are a much better team. Just let Aaron Rodgers call the plays. Just let him do what he needs to. He's got enough dirt. He can run it in the dirt like he's been doing over the last couple weeks, and just let him run the offense. I've got more confidence in him running the offense than anything the Steelers have done with any coordinator they've had over the last couple of years. Just let him do it because that's what he wants to do anyway. And let's just call it what it is. But and then Tomlin at the end of the game, they blowing the kiss. I seriously almost fell off my chair. I'm like, dude, you no offense, you think you deserve to kiss anybody after that game? Kiss my ass.
North.
That's about it.
He won me money because he won the North. Mike Tomlin's my dog.
Okay, listen. Mike Tomlin is a good coach. He is a good coach. I will say it right here now. But that was not a good coaching performance. Honestly, that was not a good coaching performance.
We always talk about the people in the back. We thank them every time on the show because they do a lot for us. I'm just trying to help you guys do your job later tonight. That part right there that Mack just said, clip that because the Aaron Rodgers thing, you're going to see that one again. It was interesting. The hokey pokey defense thing that you were talking about, and the 2 touchdowns to Zay Flowers, to the point where I haven't heard Chris Collinsworth have this much of a Collinsworth explosion in the booth in a game that didn't involve Patrick Mahomes until the second Zay Flowers touchdown. Like, the camera wasn't even there with us, and he goes, he's got him. And then when the camera caught up, I went, how in the hell is that the second time late that this has happened to them?
Right.
And I get it. I made a 7-leg parlay this weekend. 7 legs. We talk about that all the time on the show. We've literally interviewed Bill Krakenberger on the show and talked about parlays. This weekend I did a 7-legger because I went, okay, this season's been chaos. This season's been crazy. In the AFC, there's a bunch of teams that need to win to try and get the 1 seed or try and still win the division and move up. It was a perfect scenario. And then I went, who do I like in the Steelers-Ravens game? And I like the Steelers. I said it a few weeks ago. I called Aaron Rodgers the most dangerous man in this postseason because you saw on Sunday, hey, it was time, and Aaron got the job done. Yes, they got a gift. But I went through a full Steeler fan experience on Sunday, and I totally get everything that you're saying now. And I'm still just as excited because everybody's on Houston. And what's been my thing when we get to the postseason? Stafford and Hurts have done it. Josh Allen's been deep. Brock Purdy's been deep. But Stafford and Hurts have done it. Nobody else other than Aaron Rodgers has. And if I get the Aaron Rodgers from last Sunday, I think we can overcome a lot of which other Steelers show up. I mean, how good was Cam friggin' Hayward on Sunday night everywhere? Right. And Watt just coming back. Like, that's why I think the Steelers have exponential potential here.
And I think that's the frustrating part is because they've shown you've seen it against Detroit, and even that last part against Baltimore. I mean, you've seen flashes of what they can be from an offensive and a defensive standpoint. To the point where, to be honest with you, I could see them winning the AFC. I really could. There's a scenario where I think there isn't really a team in the AFC that I look at and go, man, that would be a really bad matchup for them. Because, even you take a look at, they'd have to play the Broncos next. And I know that would be in Denver. But, it's not like
Aaron.
It's not going to bother him. And it's not like the Steelers score a lot of points maybe anyway. And neither do the Broncos. So that's a perfect scenario for them. I think, honestly, it's kind of funny. I think if there's a team that worries me a little bit, it would be Jacksonville, kind of in a way, because, or actually Buffalo or Jacksonville, just because I think they can score. And I don't know that Pittsburgh can score, but sometimes they can. It's really, really interesting. But, again, that's the frustrating part with the Steelers. And I've said it all year. I just don't know what part's going to show up. And you saw that, like in the first half, that was a terrible football team. In the third quarter, they turned it on. And there was parts in the fourth quarter where they looked great, parts in the fourth quarter where you're like, what are you doing? So they're just, they really are just such an anomaly. It's hard. They could be that good, or they could just get blown out on Saturday.
Yeah, we were
Sunday.
going to get into some of the Coach of the Year, MVP awards and stuff like that. We'll skip that for now. I have one final question for you on the NFL, and then we'll get some
Sure.
Ticket Tuesday and some final
Nice.
thoughts here. We saw both the Chargers, speaking of Harbaugh's and how they relate to conversations tonight, which is all of it, and the Eagles both not care where they finished. Some people will say that the Eagles were playing for the seed that put them in the position to play the 49ers, and the Chargers were playing for the seed that put them in the position to play the Patriots. You can make the case for Nick Sirianni as an idiot if Jalen Hurts gets hurt. Jim Harbaugh is an idiot if Justin Herbert gets hurt more. If one of those two teams that we think, from what we saw on the surface, tried to play into the seed they felt was most advantageous, do the Chargers come out of this weekend looking great, or the Eagles? Because one of these coaches is definitely getting the questions about how he handled Week 18 for the matchups that they each got.
I I mean, I get it from the Chargers standpoint because you're going into a New England team.
Because Justin Herbert's got his ass kicked all year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about, like, it's a Patriots team that you just don't know. I mean, there's so many young guys uh, that's kind of sprung on them. I still think they're a better team. I think they're good enough to handle it. But I mean, I get that I get that part. I guess maybe going in their first playoff game, if you're gonna get them, you kind of get them early, kind of a thing. That's not the same with the 49ers. This is not a 49ers team that you want to mess around with. I don't think that I can make a case for the Chargers doing it, even though they got to go on the road and against a good New England team. But it's a young, inexperienced, I guess, New England team. I can make a case for that. I can't make a case for it for Philly. I can't
You know this better than most people do. We've talked about this with the Patriots, and even when Brady was there, like, Foxborough's never been at the top of your list of places that are hard to play.
No.
Philadelphia, no matter if they're good or they suck. Chicago, if they're good or they suck. Those are places that are still typically hard to play. Foxborough's never been that one.
No.
I'll give you a scenario here. High or buy. San Francisco scores 27 points against Philadelphia.
Okay.
Is that a no-doubt win for the 49ers?
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people that are... I think the Niner-Eagle matchup, and again, we're going to get more into these as the days go on this week. I think the Niner-Eagle matchup and the Steelers-Texans matchup are the two right now that... I know there's people distinctly on the Rams. I know there's people distinctly on the Jaguars as home dogs to the Bills. I think the Niners-Eagles game and the Texans-Steelers game are the two games that are the hardest to pick because it's four teams that you don't distinctly know what you're getting out of them. I think the only guarantee out of all of that is we're going to assume that the Texans defense is coming to play on Monday. I think that's the only guarantee out of both. So we're talking about 8 units. You've mentioned this all the time. And we're not counting special teams. I mean, even though Chris Boswell didn't win me any money, ironically, in a Steeler win.
Yeah.
Out of the 8 units, I think the Texans defense is the one out of those 2 games that I have the most confidence in. I think the other 7 units, all up in the air wild cards. Niners scored 27. You think they win that game easy on Sunday?
Yeah, easy. Yeah, I don't have any faith or trust. Philadelphia hasn't shown me that they can put points on the board. They really haven't.
I think I almost think the Niners are almost like the biggest wild card in this. Because as much as you go, oh, well, we saw it against Seattle, the injuries caught up with them. You know that it's a team that's literally lived next man up for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes, the injuries could catch them. But if the 49ers offense scores 27, I don't think anybody out there is going, Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball a lot here. This is going to win. And it's interesting because Eagles fans, all of the Eagles fans that I've seen, all wanted San Francisco. They
Yeah, well, of
thought it
course.
was the easiest matchup for them was San Francisco. Be careful for what you wish, but I think either Sirianni or Harbaugh is going to get grilled, maybe both of them.
Maybe
But
both,
whoever
right?
loses that game is going to get grilled about how they handled Week 18. And in hindsight, it is what it is at this point. All right, it's Ticket Tuesday. Before we get up on
Yeah.
out of here, let's see what values Vegas Mac has found. It could take you to the college football playoffs. It could take you to an NFL playoff game. It could take you to college basketball. It's Vegas Mac. It could also take you to the national. Did you see curling has its own window in the Olympics coming up? Because that sounds like a Vegas Mac special.
Curling.
Every night you're going to see curling.
I,
I have
I,
no idea where you could be taking us to Milan as far as for now.
well, I,
It's Ticket Tuesday. It's
I'm,
Vegas Max. Ticket Tuesday. Run with it.
I am telling you, we're going first. We're going to put on our blue suede shoes, and we are heading to Memphis for a doubleheader.
Oh,
We can watch on Wednesday the Phoenix Suns take on Memphis for just $5. And we're just going to stay in Memphis through the weekend because we could watch them play Brooklyn for $6 on Sunday. So that's not bad. Two NBA games for $11, couple days in Memphis. What could possibly go wrong?
I'm not commenting.
Hey,
That
this
was a
one,
setup.
yes, it was. This one's for you. It's, we haven't hit the NHL in a while, and this is not really a great deal. But San Jose, Wednesday night, playing at LA, $17. There's that one. I'll throw that one out there for you.
TJ, I'll see you on Wednesday.
There you go.
$17.
Yes. But, we have that. South Carolina at LSU, men's basketball, that was at $4. That's not too bad. Like Big East basketball, we got one for you on Wednesday. Xavier at Marquette, $5. And here we're going to go
Oh,
coast. I know.
$5?
Yeah,
Jesus.
I know. This one's going to cost money because we're going to do some traveling. It's not the great one that I had last week where it was, Tempe and wherever Grand Canyon is, Maryvale, I guess, kind of
Phoenix,
area.
technically.
Yeah. But we're going to go coast to coast. We're going to start on the East Coast. We're going to go Georgia Tech at Miami Saturday morning. $8 for that one. Hop on a plane after and head where we just said. We're going to watch San Jose State and GCU play for $7 as well. So it's a $7 special. East Coast to West Coast men's hoops.
I like it. I like it. Hey, if you're interested on Thursday with the Fiesta Bowl at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, you can get in to see Miami and Ole Miss still in upper 434. Don't recommend it, but row 17, you can get in there. If you want a halfway decent seat where you're not walking all the way up, I highly recommend, if you've never been to the Cardinal Stadium, the Ring of Honor level is great because there's only like 3 rows in the section, and you're not like up at the gills of the upper deck, right above the club. $151 for 2 tickets in the Ring of Honor level, which I think is a good price. You get a really good
That's not
vantage
bad.
point up there. You can
That's
get
not
in
bad
for
at
as
all.
low as $50 if you wanted really, really good seats in the end zone. About $200. I think the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, obviously, I would love to be at the Indiana Oregon game. I was really hoping that would have ended up being the Fiesta Bowl because these ticket prices would be 10 times this if that was the matchup. And it's one of the few games, and we've talked about this as we finish up tonight on this show. It's one of the few games, Mac, that if Indiana and Oregon were coming out here Thursday night, I would have sacrificed freaking drinking beer for a month to be able to buy good seats to that game and then just get plastered and I wouldn't remember it. But I think that there's some good value here. And obviously with the ticket prices being that low on the Fiesta Bowl, hey, come out almost to the coast. It's the winter time. We'll have a few drinks. We'll have a few laughs. You can watch a good football game. No, we got Miami and Ole Miss, which it's still going to be a good football game. I'm just
Still
really
gonna be a good
pissed that Indiana and Oregon are playing in effing Atlanta, and Miami and Ole Miss are coming all the way out here.
Yeah,
I could have gotten you down from the high woods of Arizona to come to that game with me. You would have
Yeah.
made that trip.
I was trying to get my son. He's making all the money now working as much as he is because he's like he likes Ole Miss. I was trying to get him to buy tickets for us to that game. But I was gonna ask, do they?
I bet you day of, if you wait until about half hour before kickoff, you probably get in for less than $50 a ticket and have a good seat.
Answer me this: do they predetermine? And I think they do. I think I'm kind of answering my own question, but do they predetermine who's going to those bowl games like ahead of time? Like we already know, like before they announce the teams, we already knew like the winner of this game was going to the Fiesta. Do they do that? Do they already know that beforehand? Like, is it aligned already?
I know they predetermine it at least through like the first two rounds. It's changed a little bit, so I think they just set the semis and this is what you get, this is what you get. Because if you look at it, I mean, Indiana, think about it. Indiana obviously not far from Atlanta and the Peach Bowl, and Ole Miss and Miami in Atlanta would have made perfect sense, and Indiana, Oregon probably makes more sense for people coming to Arizona. So I'm pretty sure, at least on the semi side of the bracket, it's just this is the way it goes. I think at the beginning they try and angle it a little better, which is why we saw Indiana in the Rose Bowl where they probably should have been. So
yeah, all right, just kind of it's just interesting. Just again, I'm not criticizing. It's interesting thought.
Tomorrow on the show, we'll get, again, Mack will make his official picks. We'll get way more into the matchups in the two semis. We're going to talk about our favorite matchups of Wild Card Weekend, our biggest questions of Wild Card Weekend. As far as predictions go, tomorrow we'll make our predictions of who we think is going to get to the Super Bowl now that we have the official field. And we're going to spread out our bets a little bit. On tomorrow night's show at the end, we're going to give you a touchdown trio parlay. We're going to try and hit one this weekend. On Thursday's show, TJ and I are going to attempt to do the 12 Days of Bowls Miss Wildcard style. And on Friday's show, I'm going to give you Mack's favorite four, my favorite four, TJ's favorite four player prop parlays for this weekend. So we're spreading it out. If you want to jump on board with us, absolutely. We're due for a hit anyways, which means fade most of the shit we say. Mack, any final words tonight before we get up on out of here?
We are prepping for snow. So just wanted to let you know that. I don't think I mentioned that, but we are prepping for a couple of inches of snow over the next couple of days. So get my snowman building boots ready.
Snowman building boots, extra salt, all kinds of fun stuff. And somehow you roped me into spending the first week in February up there. I can't wait, Mr. Hasn't driven in snow ever. We'll talk about that one, I'm sure, coming up here. But for everybody behind the scenes, for TJ, who will be back with us tomorrow night for Vegas Mack, you guys know the drill. We appreciate all you. So many things coming in 2026. We'll talk with you tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat channel. Right now, we're out.